Welcome back to this channel. This is Real Talk with Educators, where we talk about the highs, the lows, and the heart behind teaching and leading in schools. And I am Korrie White. I am your host, and I am so excited today. We have a very special guest that's near and dear to me, Mr. Marvin White. Uh, we are going to talk about today the behind the scenes of education. So many times we're gearing up for school and you've got your PD plan, you've got your color calendars coded, you've got your laminating going, but nobody talks about the true heart behind educators. So this episode, my husband Marvin White is going to join us and talk about the real, the ugly, the good, bad, the funny behind what it's like to support an educator. Welcome, Marvin. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dr. White. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so glad that you are here today, and we are going to get right into this interview. To everybody watching, please remember to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And again, this episode is for educators or a spouse or a family member friend that supports an educator. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Marvin, tell me, what is the biggest surprise to you, or was the biggest surprise to you about what you found out being married to an educator? What surprised you the most?
Well, what surprised me the most was that I actually couldn't be more helpful as a educational assistant. And really, the story behind that is, I met you in college,
Mhm.
and while you were going through your coursework, and I was going through my coursework, I was like, why do you have colored pencils? Like, we're doing Excel and power all these, software programs and doing all these complicated things. I'm like, you guys are coloring. I kind of belittled it. And, I got a little, I guess, ahead of myself. And when you really got into teaching, I realized that I was just completely not cut out for what you guys do. So the heart of the educator is something special. And so I wasn't much help. The first thing I remember is, you were teaching I think you were teaching third grade.
Yes.
And you brought home a bunch of papers, and it was like basic math. I was a good student, so I'm like, I know how to do this.
Yes. You
Um,
to help
I
them grade
was
papers.
Yeah, so I was trying to help grade papers, right? I knew what basic arithmetic was and basic timetables, and I was like, oh, this is terrible. This is bad. I had my red pen. I was going to town, and you looked at me and said, "No, you cannot do that. They're third graders. They're learning these skills, and just that empathy that it takes to be an educator. I just didn't have that, and so I really learned a lot. So about what it takes to be an educator then, and I realized I wasn't cut out for it.
And so many people don't know the half, and so that is why it's so important. I'm glad you shared that it really does take a special person to educate and to exercise that empathy. Thank you for that. Well, I'm sure you have learned after 26 years what it's truly like. So tell me, from your perspective, what lets you know that it's back to school season?
Well, in our household, it's pretty clear. Obviously, summertime, it's usually a relaxing time. But when Sunday nights, that's the day, right? When Sunday nights begins to be stressful, I know it's back to school time.
Mhm.
It's
Uh-huh.
like, the anxiety of what, really at all levels, from when you were a teacher, an assistant principal, a principal, and a educational leader at the board, wherever you've been. I think that Sunday night pressure of kind of coming into and not knowing what's waiting for you really can be felt around the house. And so that was one thing that's a real good indicator that it's back to school time. Obviously, because we have kids, school shopping and bedtimes are starting to come up, that's normal. But for you yourself, it was like, okay, what what do you need to do to prepare on Sunday nights? And so that Sunday night stress is a real thing. And so I just when it starts to raise up, I know it's school season.
You have done very well supporting me through it all. Yes, I'm a 12-month employee now, but Marvin is absolutely right. It doesn't matter what level you are on, or at teacher from to district office. It's something about that Sunday night that is just going to come upon you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so how do you support your partner or me during those extra hard days, like after parent emails, tough student behavior, meetings that didn't go well? How do you recommend family, friends supporting their educator?
Yeah, that's a good one because everybody has hard days, and some days I have a hard day the same time you have a hard day.
Mhm.
And
Yes,
so it's just like, we've got to be tough for each other and strong for each other. But some days it's just, you got to give each other grace. If you're used to coming home and somebody's cooking and the house is perfect, sometimes it's just not going to be that way,
right.
especially during those hard days. And so as a supporter, or educational assistant, as I like to call myself sometimes,
Absolutely.
you gotta, pick up the slack. So when the car is dirty, and that happens,
Marvin
yes.
understands the assignment.
Yeah, yeah. So, hey, take the time out, help them get organized, and help them on the way. One thing that you've taught me, and I'm still learning every day, is help you get out of the house.
Yes.
Educators all over the world have so many bags. I can't understand the number of bags that you have to take in and out every day. So I try not to understand it anymore. I
We have a
just
lunch bag. We have bags with, our computers. There's certain things you don't want to put next to your technology. So you have that bag, your personal bag. And then women,
uh,
we have a purse. So
Yeah, it's a lot of bags, but so I become a bag man, carry all the bags, uh, and help her get out of the car. But if I get up early, help make a little breakfast, make some tea or some coffee, have that ready in the car. And then in the evenings, if you got the energy yourself, pick up the slack. You cook dinner or order in, or just allow the space for nothingness to occur at home so that
mm,
the unwinding can occur and you guys can enjoy each other. But what's important really, I think, is to really get interested, share your time in the space with one another.
I love that. And for all those watching, yes, he does fill my water cup up and it's in the car, and tea when I'm ready for that. So, again, it's those little things that will help us to get out of the door. So, thank you for sharing. So, let's see what our next question for you. What is something you've had to sacrifice or adjust in your own life to support your spouse's calling in education?
Yeah. You know, really at every level there's some give and take, right? The first early part of your career when you were a 9-month employee, it was like, I'm jealous. You're home during during the summers. And so,
And
to
he
be
tried
honest
to
with
leave
you,
me honey-do list during those summers, guys.
yeah, I tried to stack it up. Like, listen, you gotta pick up the slack. I'm working all the time and you chilling. So I had to learn, because of the work that, the educators do during those 9 months, they need that time off.
Yes.
So I learned that early on. But the other sacrifice was, as you were rising up in the career, and I think the toughest part really was when you became a principal for the first time.
I agree.
Taking on a large school, the legacy of that school needed to be maintained, but you also needed to carve out your own space. And so that took a lot of time. I mean, it really
Our
was a
kids
24
were
by
young.
7 job.
Yes. Yes, our kids were
Yeah.
young. I could not have
Kids were
done that
young.
without. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So, I took up a lot of dad. It was a lot of daddy time then, but, to balance it out instead of kind of taking it on, I think we just did it together. So I would bring
Yes.
the kids up to the school, and when you had to stay there late nights, we were there and make sure that you got out safely. And the kids enjoyed it, being able to run around the building and get used to that environment. So it was really cool, but it was definitely a sacrifice. And now, kind of seeing the stress of, running a district basically, and taking that leadership role, it is really kind of, yeah, I have to give up myself to make sure that I'm trying to balance you out and keep myself balanced as well, help with the kids. So there's a lot of adjusting that you have to do. And I think in order to have a healthy relationship with an educator, you got to be willing to adjust.
Absolutely. You brought me back to some great times. Our little Shih Tzu Spud. He even brought the dog up there too. If it was after hours and on the weekends, he made sure to go in the gym and he would play. We would open up the PE cabinet and let the kids have a ball in the gym. They would ride their bikes through the school and the dog is just right there. But I did feel that guilt as a mom in the beginning. I agree that first year as a principal that year was tough, but it made it easier knowing that I had my family support there and they were in the school with me. Delivering books, I remember as an assistant principal, that was one of my duties, the book coordinator. And Marvin was right there with me. We go up there on a Saturday and a Sunday, and we're pushing that cart around and delivering textbooks to the teachers' classrooms and helping me to clean and organize things. It just truly was a family affair, and I'm so grateful to you. So thank you. What advice, you've kind of shared this already, but what advice would you give to other partners or spouses who want to be more supportive but aren't sure how? What would you prioritize?
I mean, the first thing is communication. Um, it's important to talk to your educator spouse about everything. I
Mm.
think one of the key, and you probably don't even know this, but one of the tactics I use is to allow you to download. Right. Oftentimes you've got 20 or 30 young people that you can't really talk to a certain way. You've got your peers and in your superiors there you can't really talk to,
Right.
how you want to talk to the parents, etc. But you want to come home and be able to talk to someone. And
Mm-hmm.
so I first thing I try to do is ask you about your day. Tell me about your day. And sometimes it takes a little pulling because, sometimes you don't want to talk about it, but I think
Yes.
it's therapeutic to get it out, and allow your educator spouse to download. So that's really the first thing that I try to do
Mm-hmm.
to support or be more supportive. Another thing that I try to do is, make sure I'm looking out for not just the educator, but the spouse, right?
Yes.
Date
Yes.
nights are still important, dressing up and going out,
Yes.
traveling. So you got to really make those plans and give them something to look forward to. Being an educator is such a difficult um, profession, and so underappreciated. Being able to come home and be appreciated by someone is, I think, a big key to a successful, supportive spouse.
Thank you for that. I'm just thinking about the travel part. We made it a point to make sure we were going somewhere. And educators, I don't care if you are 9 months or 12 months, it's so important. Take your time off, don't do any work while you are on vacation, and truly download and enjoy your family, because it's a give and take. And just how Marvin has shared how, of course, this episode is about supporting educators, but it goes vice versa with your family, friends, with your spouse. You want to make sure that you are being fair to them because they do support you during those tough times of the year, beginning of the school year, end of the school year. You want to make sure when you're with them, you are with them. So make sure that you are learning or setting your boundaries so you do truly break free and give your spouse the time and your family and friends that they deserve because they do support you. All right.
Yeah,
Well, go
if
ahead.
I can. jump in, and another strategy is, go ahead and look at that calendar. That's one benefit of being with the educator. Their calendars are pretty well laid out at the beginning of the
Usually two
school year.
years in advance.
That's right. Look at it. Use those breaks. Make sure you align your paid time off with those breaks, and so you can take advantage of it. So aligning your schedules are a lot easier if you do it in advance. So that's another a positive benefit of trying to support an educator is match your breaks up so you can have fun together.
Yes, thank you for that. All right, here's another one that just segues right into here. What is one thing you wish more people understood about the mental and emotional load educators carry, especially at the start of the school year?
Yeah. As a business person, I don't know how I would react if my closest stakeholders, my partners, my clients acted the way or talked the way,
Mhm.
behaved the way some of the people that educators deal with. And that's
Yeah.
both positive and negative, right? I couldn't walk in if I walk into a building and I had 20 people trying to hug me. That's weird to me. Like that, you know, you got people trying to come home with you. I would come home, it'd be like 15 girls at my house. I brought
Yeah.
all the girls home.
This
It's
was
like,
in 1999. Times were different. And yes, I had all of my
correct.
girls from my, was it third or fifth grade? I can't remember
I
what
think
year
they're
I had,
fifth
but they
graders,
all,
yeah.
fifth graders, they all spent the night at my house and we had a
Yeah.
blast. Marvin went and stayed somewhere else. And this was before we had our own kids. And yes, I literally used to bring kids home with me.
Right. So, and that's the positive side. And then you've got situations where, just in-house types of things, factions that have set up and, I don't like you because of this and I don't like you because of that. Parents with vendettas against, teachers and,
Mhm.
people trying to get you fired. It's like, I don't know how I could deal with that. The
Yes.
emotional ups and downs of an educator on any day could just set you off. And then you're dealing with a lot of people, young people, kids that are, may not be in great health or kids that may not live in a great living situation. I
Right.
remember very vividly, even former students, they still weigh on you. I remember you were
Mhm.
really great with the worst kids, and I'm using air quotes because I
Yeah.
know now from you there are no bad kids.
Yes.
And so some of the kids that had those behavior issues, a lot of them were acting out for different reasons. And a lot of it was they were missing the care. They were
Yeah.
missing that person that investing in them. And I remember when one young man who was tragically taken away due to violence, us
Mhm.
going to his funeral, and
Yeah.
seeing his mom and hearing her talk about the impact that you had on her son's life as an educator, but because there weren't more like you, he fell through the cracks, unfortunately. So
Mhm.
it could be very stressful, but as a spouse, again, the important part is to be there. And you go through it too, right? I didn't know that young man. I didn't have that same interaction with him, but I was there. And
Yes.
and I hear the stories all the time because we have a lot of educator friends.
Yes.
And and on the other side is, support them when they go to the bar on Friday nights because sometimes you got to just do it. Hey,
Or
make
if
them
you
out.
don't drink, wherever you go to get your beverage,
Yeah.
non-alcoholic or alcoholic.
Hey, my point is be there to help support the outlet, whatever that may be, was running and exercising or going to the movies or figuring it out. You have to find that way to normalize and be a regular human because an educator is a superpower and it just takes a special person to be involved in that profession.
Yes, thank you for acknowledging our superpowers. All right, we're going to close out with this one last question. What's your proudest moment seeing your spouse lead in education, and how did that impact you personally?
Yeah, by far to me, and I mentioned it earlier, was when you move from AP to principal. It was a stressful time because being an AP was hard.
It was
The
hard.
APs are the workhorse of the building.
Shout
A
out
lot
to
of
the
times,
APs.
shout out to the APs. They don't get a lot of visibility sometimes because they are behind the scenes working. And then when the principalship kind of came open, everybody thinks they're the next in line.
Right.
And so that's a stressful thing. And someone that doesn't work in that building typically makes the decision on who's the next principal.
Yes.
So there's a lot of preparation in that, and a lot of faith involved in it. And when you got the job, despite all of the challenges that came with it, I was extremely proud, to see you stand in front of, 600 kids, as their leader, and to
Let
hear
me
those
correct you,
parents.
honey. We had 1,200
Okay.
students at Highland. Oh, I
Okay.
won't mention names, but at our
Yeah.
elementary.
Maybe I was on the wrong side, on one side of the building. You can only hit 600 at a time. Okay.
You're right. You're right.
So, but to see that was extremely impressive. And it takes a real leader to lead a school, because there's no way that one person can do it all, but their name is on everything. They're accountable for everything.
Yes.
And that is such a big job. And I admired, you know the way you carried yourself during that time. So I was extremely proud. It was a lot of work on you. You did it with grace and care, and with tremendous leadership, and I was so proud.
Thank you. Thank you. That was one of my favorite times. I don't know if I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for saying that, but I do miss the principalship. And that is why it is so close and near and dear for me to support other leaders out there, assistant principals, principals, aspiring people that want to go into any role. It's just important, because the work and the impact that you can have on students, it's pretty awesome. So, well, Marvin, thank you so much for joining us today. I am truly hopeful and believe that this time on our podcast today is going to reach so many and encourage so many family members and supporters of educators. Is there anything else you want to leave us with?
No, just I'm thrilled to be a part of this. I hope your subscribers grow exponentially. You have so much to offer, leaders in the classroom, and so I'm really happy about this platform, and I look forward to seeing it grow and a lot of people to grow from it.
Thank you so much, Marvin. Well, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And if you need any type of coaching, you have questions, please comment below. Feel free to email me, subscribe on my website at korriewhite.com. And again, thank you for joining us today. And come back and see us. Have a great day.